All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and welcome to today's NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying coverage from the Martinsville Speedway for this weekend's running of the Xfinity 500, the round of 8 elimination race coming up for tomorrow around a similar start time to what we'll have for qualifying in a little bit following this full 45-minute practice session. No group practice this weekend. Option tires at the Martinsville Speedway for the first time. As you see, we're already into practice, and you can see the leaderboard live on our screen. We'll cover the point standings in a little bit as well, and obviously you'll get to listen into some of the actual coverage of what is going on for practice as it is currently airing on the NBC Sports app. I don't think there's any audio right now on the NBC Sports app for actual commentating for practice. Yeah, they're having some sort of an audio issue. They have some live feeds, obviously, at the racetrack, live leaderboard on the NBC Sports app, but for some reason, there is no audio from Lee Diffie, Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, or anybody who might be in the booth for this practice session, assuming that those would be the usual suspects that we see for Cup Series at this time of the year over the last couple of months. But as we highlight this right now, again, option tires will be at the forefront of this practice session. Each of these teams get 2 sets of tires for these 45 minutes, so probably going to be seeing a qualifying session as well as a practice session. All entries for this weekend's event will be on the racetrack at the same time. And there are a few drivers who have not made a lap yet, but it looks like 33 of the starters for this weekend have been on the track. Denny Hamlin is the quickest so far, running his fastest lap on lap 4. He has currently ran 7 laps. He is about a hundredth of a second faster than Chase Elliott, who sits in P2. Ty Gibbs is third, Martin Truex Jr. in fourth. Todd Gilliland rounds out our top 5 in fifth. Fastest lap time for Hamlin, a 19.957. That's an average speed of 94.884 miles per hour. Okay, so it sounds like audio is working now on the NBC app. It was down for a minute. They were showing like all the graphics like they would on a usual TV broadcast, but highlighting Tyler Reddick's win last weekend, but there was no audio there for the first few minutes, but it sounds like there is audio now, so let's listen in.
Many times been going to these events and all the teams with their and now they've gotten to the point that they know they don't know what's going to happen. Like you just don't understand. So a lot of learning is going to go on. And who learns it the best? Because it will change whose car runs well and whose doesn't. The other thing very unique about Martinsville is not just the shape, but watch the driver's left right there. Red and white curbing. It's not 90 degrees like the street at home. It's like a 45, but I'll tell you with these low profile Goodyears, I actually think it's more violent when you touch it. Like the old time, it always kind of bounced you up. But with this car, it really, touching that curbing is not smooth. Jeff, you were winning here at Martinsville. What was the key when you would go out and practice? What were you looking for early, straight away? How did you want your car to feel? So, Diff, I believe all this is an aggressive racetrack, and it's a little bit of hand-to-hand combat. The greatest thinkers win these races. If you look at who wins a lot of races at Martinsville, it is not only the driver, but the teams. Think about the success of Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, but also the drivers driving those race cars. This is a precision game. You cannot miss your mark by more than 2 or 3 inches, and you have to be carrying the right amount of speed. So there's decisions to be made. You can run this racetrack. It's a one-groove racetrack. However, how you run that groove, it's adjustable. How much corner entry arc do you have? Meaning, how high do you enter the corner? When do you get to the bottom of the racetrack? There's a qualifying way to do it, and that's using a lot of racetrack, but you can't race like that. So in this situation, I need to know that I can run the very bottom of the racetrack. I can block somebody on corner entry. I can leave the corner with good forward momentum. So it's not always just about lap time. It's about what do I feel as a driver? Can I carry speed in the corner? Because with this car, that is so important. You have to have tons of entry speed, but in doing that, you also have to rotate the corner. That's a very difficult combination to find. In the September of 1997, Wardford won the pole position, but it was his brother and our Jeff Burton who drove to victory lane, and Kim was pretty happy. Hey, we saw this lady celebrating in Daytona when her son went to victory lane. This time it was hubby. Good memories, mate. Could have covered that in the Olympics. It's one of the onboards we'll have for you. This is Tyler Reddick. Love this shot, looking ahead at Ross Chastain. I caught up with Ross earlier, prior to this session, Stevie. He was telling me the story about the hail melon, and he's yet to collect the actual part of the fence where he scraped off with the Martinsville sign. And the track gave that to him, and he said, I'm yet to pick it up. I've got to pick it up and put it somewhere, find a good home for it. Yeah, it was one of the many memories this track has created in a move that was breathtaking at the time. I'm thankful it's not allowed anymore. I'm glad it worked. But Jeff, you and I called this race. It needed this. It was a kind of a Hail Mary for sure. Now the Hail Melon, he actually grabs fifth gear, goes wide open around the wall. It still doesn't look real. And, now that we've seen it, as many times as we've seen it, we recognize it's real, but it's in real time. I could process what I just watched. I said to him, I've watched the onboard a ton. See this part here? And I said, there was a noticeable big clump. And he said, yeah, I noticed that too. I didn't realize that the wall kicked out there a little. And he said that was the highest G hit of the whole moment. The other thing what he said was that he almost blacked out. Like he lost a little bit of awareness. Yeah, like some tunnel vision. Yeah, because of the G-forces. And what a crazy move. It shows you what people are willing to do. And it worked for a lot of reasons. One reason is around here, they run third and fourth gear in a 5-speed transmission. So there was a high gear that was never used on the racetrack. That's why it looked like it was going faster, because most tracks are already in high gear. So there was a lot of things. I give unbelievable credit for giving it a try. You saw right there a little front tire smoke on corner entry. We're going to talk a lot about that, just how hard these next-gen cars want to be driven into the corner. And we talk about this tire. So Denny Hamlin, he's fastest on the board so far. His fast lap to the 19, so essentially a 20 flat, and now he's running 2050. So a half a second fall off in 22 laps. Not sure where that stacks up. It seems like maybe a tenth of a second more than normal. Doesn't seem like it's a huge amount of fall off. But the teams will figure it out as they run, as we see Joey Logano. Where was he last weekend? It was almost like he wasn't in the race with a big smile on his face. I know it was. Thankfully, he didn't need to be running better. To your point, they wanted to go run well there, but when we looked out the window, playoff cars 1 through 7, the only guy not really in the mix was the guy who didn't need to be after the win a week before. So while we're at the other end of getting closer to the championship 4 and the championship race, right at the beginning, when the playoffs began at Atlanta Motor Speedway, who was it to ensure he was going through to the round of 12? First up, it was the driver of the 22. Yep, straight out of the box, he won. And then, after being the final driver to qualify and transfer to the round of 8, he did it again to confirm his position in the championship 4 and have a shot at becoming a 3-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. Dave Burns.
At least so far today, 26 laps and counting on the board for Joey Logano. At the beginning, he called his car a little soft, and he was told from the team, well, we don't stand out necessarily on lap time, but we're not bad, so taking care of it from here. And Steve, as I got ready to give this report, I was reminded just how difficult it is to do work at Martinsville Speedway. You hear how loud it is. I'm going to step from behind my barrier here, and it gets a little bit louder yet. So you can tell that when you are here, you've got to definitely use your headset when you're talking. You're not going to be able to hear each other at this very small track.
Yeah, much is made of Bristol, because I do think it's a little bit louder with the stands all the way around, but you add the noise and then the heat. This short track, so much braking is being used. The gearbox also generates a tremendous amount of heat. So for the mechanics on pit road, this is a pretty intense 45 minutes. Hard to hear. Everything you touch is louder than you really expect it to be. Christopher Bell, Mobil 1 Toyota Camry. Bell sits in third and is the highest placed driver on points without a win. Look into your crystal ball, Jeff. How do you see the weekend playing out for him? He's in a comfortable position, but the way that the last couple of races have gone, are you ever comfortable? No, you can't feel comfortable, but Christopher Bell, he's the most prepared he's been for this situation. I believe this is a championship contending race team. He believes in himself. He believes in the race team. You just go execute. Do your job. And if it doesn't work out because something out of your control, then it is what it is. But just focus on what it is that you need to do as a team. And that's all you can do. And this team is capable of doing that. This moment's not too big for them. He won here 2 years ago. And with that win, it was with authority. He led 150 laps to put himself in the championship four. So to your point, Jeff, he's up for it. He's ready and knows that they've done this before. It takes an entire team. And one guy I want to point out on pit road, because Jeff, you and I see just how hard it is to survive and advance in these playoffs. Christopher Bell's crew chief, he has the opportunity to make it 8 years in a row, dude. 8 years of a championship four performance between his time with Kyle Busch and now with Christopher Bell. Two amazing race car drivers. Well, leadership. To think that one of these crew chiefs has been able to put that's like the Chad Canals era of 5 championships in a
Yeah, it really
right?
is.
8 years in a row of making the championship four. There's Adam Stevens. Good to be back. Had a little injury. Had to miss a few weeks from the racetrack. He's brought a fast car this weekend. He just went out there and ran 34 laps, and that last lap was a 2060. Really good speed. Dave.
So, Jeff and Lee, you have a driver and a crew chief sitting next to you, right? So the conversation 5 laps ago from crew chief was, let's work on it. Driver, that means bring it in. Well, 5 laps went by, and finally Adam Stevens said, okay, that's a good lap, but let's bring it in. They want to work on it.
So, Steve, I would say a little bit of a mindset change for the teams with 45 minutes of practice and 2 sets of tires, right? And so you're so accustomed to really not being able to come in and make changes. You don't have enough time, but Adam Stevens recognizing that, okay, we have another set of tires. We can make a change here, get a read on it, and then we'll put that set of tires on. Just an adjustment I think you'll see most of these teams make. And I think we've seen a threshold. You had mentioned about a half a second of tire fall off. That was in the mid-20s on laps. Now that we've seen some cars in the mid-30s, it looks like 7, almost 8 tenths. And that's what I'm waiting to see, Diff, right, is normally at Martinsville for years, there was kind of this threshold clip. If you just drove it too hard, you would burn the rear tires off, and you could literally the speed completely fall out of your race car. I'm hoping to see that again, because it goes back to what Jeff was saying about being an intelligent race car driver, is you have to push, but you have to drive with that egg underneath the throttle pedal. You do not want to spin those rear tires. Talking about pushing, driver on your screen, Kyle Larson pushed. He was being forced. He saw a gap. He went for it. And Chip, that gap evaporated, and this is the net result. I spoke to Cliff Daniels, his crew chief, this morning. He said, I would never try and take that out of my driver. Going for it is his MO. That's what we love about him. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'd never ask him to change his style. Well, I hear that, but also hear him on the radio and, not like it when he gets himself in this situation. I agree. I think that's the right way to approach Kyle Larson. I will say this. I didn't love that move because I thought he had the fastest car on the racetrack. I don't think he had to make that pass at that moment. I understand the need to make that pass, winding down the laps. I typically am great with Kyle Larson making those decisions, and it ended up getting in a wreck. But I think with the speed that he had, I think with the speed that he had and the laps left, he could have still made that pass. But that's easy for me to say.
Sure.
I'm sitting up here, 65-degree booth. He's out there in the middle of the heat. We talked about these tires. Chase Elliott, he has the most laps on his tires of anyone. And he is almost a second off of his fastest lap. He now is coming for his 43rd lap. And you'll see the guys behind him start to catch him. And he's in perfectly clean air. There's not a better situation he could be in from a speed standpoint. The 54 car, Ty Gibbs, is behind him. Let's see. Tire right on the top a little bit. I don't know if that was on purpose. Oh, no. He got up there and got some chunk on his tire. That didn't work. But it's kind of leveled off a little bit. He got to those 70s and 80s, and that's where it sat as far as fall off. Well, now we have Denny Hamlin, who just left pit road. He's going to fire off behind Elliott, and Hamlin has, I'm looking, 22. All right, so 22 laps on tires in the 11. Plus, they've cooled off from being on pit road. I want to see how well they fire off, because as a crew chief, it's just not our new tires better. If I don't pit and cool my scuffs, how many laps do I get? So let's ride on board and see what it looks like on the 11th car, right on the front bumper. And from that first run, 10-lap average and 15-lap average, this 11th car was the best car. All right, let's have a listen. Let's have a listen for a lap or two, and then you guys tell the viewers what you like, what you don't like, what you hear. See, all the speed came on entry. To the 9 car. Watch this. Big gain, big gain, big gain. Now look at the gap. Stays the same. So the speed right now with the new tires is on corner entry compared to the 9 car. And it's a half a second faster a lap. I don't think that's just tire life. I also think that's tire temperature after being on pit road. I'm sure the 9 will let them go. But I don't think this is something we would have seen last year. With that tire, I think this is more tire fall off than what we would have seen at that big of a rate. Well, I think so far, this tire is doing at least some of what they were hoping it would do.
I will say it was also a green racetrack, though, when we started practice today. There was no other cars on track before this. Both Xfinity and Truck Series action took place yesterday. The Xfinity race is still later on today, but they practiced and qualified after the Truck Series practice and qualifying sessions yesterday afternoon. So with a green racetrack, you're going to see faster times at the forefront of those first few cars that went out on the racetrack and more fall off in this first run versus what we would probably see in the second set of tires going on a lot of these teams' cars when they do decide to make that change. So I'll pump the brakes a little bit. That could lead into maybe this is how the race will look at the very start tomorrow, stage 1. You'll probably see more fall off in the first stage until the track gets rubbered in. And then when we get into stage 2, stage 3, when there's so many laps on the racetrack from a lot of these cars, that you're not going to see as much fall off from that point on. That's my prediction, at least from what I'm seeing so far. So they haven't really mentioned anything about that, at least to this point on the broadcast. I do see you guys in the chat. I'll shout out those who are watching right now. We've got Ty, Zavidero Racer, Frank Powers, Wade. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I haven't been able to look at the chat much so far during this stream. I have to bounce back and forth on the webpage as you see me doing from time to time from where the live leaderboard is back to that, and that is because I have the NBC Sports app playing on my phone to give you guys the actual race coverage for today's live commentary stream of this practice and qualifying session at Martinsville. It is not on the USA Network, so I have to use my phone to air and be able to physically watch the race. So usually I'd use my phone for the chat. So if you see me bouncing off the screen quite a bit, or maybe not as communicative with the chat in this stream in particular, that would be why. Still William Byron on track right now. He's actually made the fewest laps of anybody on the racetrack. Only 11 laps currently for Byron. He brought it in after 7 or 8. And then out on the track he went. Oh boy, big damage. Denny Hamlin has cracked the wall hard in turns 3 and 4, and he's got some heavy damage.
Serious. You wonder if it has something to do with the tire buildup, the tire rubber. Man, what a huge hit. I looked up and he was going backwards at a tremendous amount of speed. And the potential implications of this. I have to start earlier than that because I can't tell. It sounds like it's out of the gas, but maybe it's stuck just too far into the corner. Well, what he could have done is clutched it. Right there. He could have just put the clutch in and got the thing where it would slow down.
Yeah, you can tell he's going faster than he wants. He locks up the tires. Denny Hamlin's not going to make that mistake. Let's listen. So, it doesn't sound like it's stuck wide open, but obviously something carried him into the corner with way more speed than he was looking for, Jeff.
And look, that is a remarkable job to back that car on the race.
Yes.
And if the throttle stuck and to back the car in, that is an amazing job of Denny Hamlin recognizing the issue and then making a major adjustment to keep it from just head on into the wall. That is an unbelievable job and a tremendous bad break for this team. This is huge.
Fastest guy on track as we speak in this 45-minute practice period. This playoffs is just, you couldn't write the script. You come here, you're fastest, so many wins here, everything looks like it's going, and now this car is absolutely destroyed. Back up for sure.
Yeah.
Won't get to qualify. We'll have to start in the back. Everything will have a poor pit selection. This is a big avalanche of situation here.
I can't wait to hear what he says about what he did when he knew the throttle was stuck. What did he do? And look, this is call it bad luck, call it whatever. A throttle sticking is not acceptable. Now, we don't know what happened. Right? We have no idea what happened, but that is very dangerous. Denny Hamlin and this team kind of had their backs against the wall a little bit in this playoffs. They kind of survived through some of the rounds, but at the Roval, I thought, look at the other races. And then look at here, right? Yes. I mean, yes. Have a listen. And we heard it live. Denny said, and I heard throttle stuck on the radio. Let's listen into what he said. Throttle stuck. Throttle stuck. Somebody back up right there. Said twice. So like I said, you can see the frustration, So when we're on board, right, it's not still at high RPM like the throttle's completely stuck wide open, not mechanically coming back. But these drivers are driving to the absolute limit of the grip. So if that throttle is just in a delay, right, Jeff, if you limp and it doesn't follow your foot up, if it's not an instant deceleration and onto the brakes, that's it. That's too many miles an hour into the corner. You can see it with the left front lock up, and then Denny, whatever he does behind the wheel, Jeff, to your point, an absolute fantastic job getting the car spun around instead of hitting with the right side and not going all the way around and hitting with the left side. Think about the swings in emotion and fortune. A week ago at Homestead Miami Speedway, Jeff, he was this close. He was leading in those closing stages of the race. Ultimately finished third and had a chance to lock himself into that championship four. And now the 11 team is on the back foot, being forced to go to a backup car. Here it is. As a reminder, it was one of his best performances in quite some time. Racing Chase Elliott hard, ultimately racing Blaney hard. And this was the moment where he said, Blaney had a better run than me there. I allowed him to get ahead of myself, and then here comes Tyler Reddick going all around the outside. And he said, I didn't have my team owner hat on then. I'm locked in as driver mode, and I couldn't believe we were so close. And then it just went away like that. So he knows what he's up against. Well, coming to today, knew what he's up against. Now that's been escalated, unfortunately, for the 11 team.
20 minutes still remain in this full 45-minute practice session. Again, Denny Hamlin is top of the speed charts, but he will not be racing the car that put him to the top of the charts here today. A crash in practice not that long ago. A very quick caution, I will say, for as hard of an impact as he took into the outside wall. So good job on the safety crew around the racetrack here at Martinsville Speedway this weekend for getting us back to green flag racing here not racing, but green flag action going on here during practice. So behind Hamlin, Chase Elliott would be the next quickest. He has ran 55 laps, most of anybody so far in this session. And I believe he is still on his first set of tires if he is still out on the racetrack, considering his last lap was a 22.356. Ty Gibbs is in third, Martin Truex Jr. fourth, Todd Gilliland is fifth, Austin Dillon sixth, Daniel Suarez seventh, William Byron eighth, Christopher Bell ninth, Ross Chastain is 10th, Harrison Burton in 11th, Corey LaJoie in 12th, Brad Keselowski 13th, 14th for Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace 15th. 16th is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Josh Berry 17th fastest, Joey Logano 18th, Eric Jones 19th, Carson Hocevar in 20th, Justin Haley 21st, Shane Van Gisbergen in 22nd, Ryan Blaney 23rd, 24th, Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson 25th, Chase Briscoe 26th, Zane Smith 27th, Alex Bowman 28th, Ryan Preece 29th, and Kaz Grella 30th, Tyler Reddick 31st, 32nd, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher 33rd, Noah Gragson 34th, John Hunter Nemechek 35th, Daniel Hemrick 36th, and Josh Bilicki 37th of the 37 cars that will be starting the race tomorrow. Bilicki in the 66 for MBM back at the track this weekend. They're the only open entry for this race. So again, Hamlin will not be qualified. He will be going to a backup car. That was the first incident we've seen in this full practice session so far, as we have been allotted a little bit more time. NASCAR put about 3.5 to 4 minutes back on the clock, which was the amount of time it took for them to have that cleanup during the Hamlin incident, so these teams still going to work with the full 45 minutes. So as that goes on, we'll take a look at the point standings coming into the weekend and highlight that for the first time in the stream. 2 drivers locked into the championship 4 already. We got Joey Logano and Tyler Reddick with wins already in the round of 8. Logano winning the round of 8 opener at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and last weekend a thrilling race at Homestead Miami Speedway where Tyler Reddick was able to win with a last lap pass going from 3rd to 1st on the final lap. Christopher Bell is sitting the best on points, plus 29 above the cut line. William Byron plus 7 over his teammate Kyle Larson, who is the first driver out at minus 7. Denny Hamlin not in a must-win situation this weekend, but obviously going to be tough for him to get some stage points in Stage 1 starting at the back of the field tomorrow with a car he had not practiced yet this weekend as well. That's going to be tough for Hamlin. So 18 points to the negative for him on Byron. If Byron qualifies well, scores a bunch of stage points in Stage 1, Hamlin doesn't get any. We could be looking at Hamlin being in that must-win situation based on how that race begins tomorrow. If Byron struggles off the start, maybe not going to be the case for Hamlin to have to go out and get a win, but he's definitely going to have a solid day at the very least. Ryan Blaney is 38 points below the cut line, came so close to win last week, finished runner-up. He is the defending winner of this race, though lacking speed a little bit in practice on the short run. We don't really know exactly what his long run speed looks like. Last lap he ran a 20.2, but he might be on the new set of tires that he's on right now, because that seems like a pretty low lap time to be running 30, but not even 30, 47 laps into the practice session. So I think a lot of these teams have their second set of tires just going on the car. Seeing a lot of low 20-second lap times. Behind Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott minus 43 points, also in a must-win situation, more than likely entering this race with Blaney, unless of course we get an early incident from a Christopher Bell or a well, actually they can't even catch Christopher Bell on points. It would have to be William Byron that would have to have the issue, maybe even Kyle Larson as well, if they're going to want to point their way in. So more than likely a must-win situation for Blaney and Elliott. But Elliott's showing some speed here this weekend. He has since dropped to 4th. It looks like Martin Truex Jr. on the new set of tires now jumps to the top of the leaderboard in practice. So adjustments have been made for some of these teams. Corey LaJoie is now up to 2nd in the Rick Ware Racing Ford. Maybe making a qualifying run. 19.918 is that fast lap for Truex. Almost 0.04 of a second quicker than Hamlin's fastest lap that he ran back on his 4th lap of this session. Lap 34 was the fastest lap for Truex. He's currently ran 43 laps and counting. Almost a half hour into practice now. We'll take our first break. You're listening live on KRC to Xfinity 500 practice qualifying on the stream coming up next. Marcus Collins and Rima, thanks for tuning into the stream as well. I see you in the chat. Yeah, Hamlin definitely starting at the rear. NASCAR 25 game looks interesting. I haven't seen anything on that yet. I do think they had something of a teaser or something of that nature that posted earlier in the week. I didn't actually look at it. When it comes out, I do plan on playing that on the channel during the week, though. I'm only doing the older games, as much as I do right now because I did all I felt like I really needed to with NASCAR Heat 5. I mean, we played that game for the better part of a year from when it first released, real early in the channel days, for a little more than a year, and just kind of got tired of it after so long. Only so many iterations of a career mode and season modes that you can do after so long before you get bored with it, so... yeah, then we ended up moving on to the classic game playthroughs, and NASCAR 21 Ignition obviously came out the next year, and we did some stuff with that too, but just it's been that long since a new game. That's our midweek content. As far as our weekend content, obviously these live commentary streams, just a couple left this season. We do have a doubleheader today. Xfinity Series race will start at 4 p.m. Eastern later this afternoon. We'll be live for that one, 250-lap race. Again, round of 8 finale for that series. And we will be commentating the did commentate the truck race yesterday, as that took place at 6 p.m. Eastern later yesterday evening. Congratulations to Christian Eckes for getting that win. Championship 4 for the Truck Series now locked in. Obviously, Grant Enfinger, Christian Eckes with wins in the round of 8, and on points, Corey Heim and Ty Majeski get those final couple spots. Saw some tempers flaring a little bit there between Gray and Eckes post-race. Eckes very aggressive on older tires with a couple of bump and run moves in the closing laps after losing the lead both to Gray and to Ben Rhodes with a couple laps left in the race. Eckes ended up leading 188 of 200 laps last night, all but 12 laps in that race. Speaking of the number 12, here's Ryan Blaney on track.
Let's talk about the league champion who would like a chance to defend his title. He came so close this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway, did Ryan Blaney. He was very open in the hours and days following, saying he lost a little bit of sleep over that one on Sunday night. Only to be a spectator to see Tyler Reddick go all the way around the outside.
Yeah, think about the emotion, right?
Oh,
So he lost the lead on the restart, and then ground his way back to getting by the 11, which I thought that was going to seal the deal.
And as you see on the graphic bottom left, he's minus 38 to the cut line. It is a massive day, not tomorrow, but today for Ryan Blaney in the 12.
So we just had this conversation about, how hard it is to pass, right? So the 2 and the 21 fall to 19. And Truex, being Mark Truex, isn't going to make a mistake. He's going to put his race car right where it needs to be. They ran him down and they got there and they're like, oh, what do we do with him? And now the 12 has run these guys down. So this is a perfect example of what happens in the race, right? One guy is just a little bit off, but he's good. And he's not going to make a mistake, and it just stacks everybody up. And this is when tempers start to flare. This is when time starts to run out. You start changing what you're doing. High entries, that's opening the door to somebody to drive underneath you. This is when it starts to happen. And this is what you will see all day on Sunday.
Look at this, making a move on the inside of Harrison Burton. Prior to this session starting, a couple of the drivers were cycled through the media center to talk to a packed media center. And Chase Elliott was asked about, typical short track racing, getting fast, was asked about the finish of the truck race last night. And he just said, listen, it is a situation, Steve, of you better take advantage of a situation, otherwise you're going to be the one being taken advantage of. So it's a fine line, but it's better to be on the attack than be on the receiving end.
I just think the era of drivers that expect respect are just gone. I don't think drivers, while there is a tremendous amount of mutual respect for the job being done and the talent they have behind the wheel, there's this obligation to take your performance to the next level. And I think the format does that. The style of racing has encouraged it. We have seen it crossed this year. Austin Dillon, NASCAR finally had to step in and say, we're going to try to draw a line. I think there's a line out there. I'm not sure if every driver knows where that line is or they would all agree what that line is. I'm not, it might get tested again on Sunday afternoon here with so much on the line.
12 minutes left in practice before we have a brief pause, and then we'll go into qualifying mode. Here's what's happening at Joe Gibbs Racing. Dave Burns, give us the latest.
And Lee, when that 12 minutes is up, it'll be quiet here at the Martinsville Speedway, and Denny Hamlin will talk to us about the accident we just saw on the track that destroyed this extremely fast Camry. I just talked to the crew, and right now they're still assessing the car to see if they can get it square enough to roll through tech to see if it is square enough to repair and put in the race. There will be no qualifying lap taken by Denny in this car or a backup, but right now they're still assessing it before they push it through to see if it'll be square enough. Steve, man, I don't know. That's a really messed up back end.
Well, the one advantage of the next-gen car is it's built in modules. So there's a front clip. There's the middle center section at the driver, the cockpit area, and a back third, the rear clip that bolts on. So if you hit square enough, then I think the team wants to go and see if the middle section and the front section are still square. You can really just unbolt the back,
put a new piece on, new bodywork, all bolts on. It is a short track, so aero not being as vital. If this was a high-speed track, there's no way I think they would repair it because the diffuser and everything is damaged. But there's obviously something in the car that they would like to keep this one. Surprising to me, but Chris Gabehart knows what he's doing. There's a reason he wants to check this car out. How were you in those situations when you were put in this pressure cooker mode? You know me, my brain works best in chaos. So I actually thought this is probably where I was the best, is when you got thrown some adversity like this. This is when your leadership, and really, this is when the entire team's kind of fortitude, mental fortitude, are you kind of tough enough to not let the emotion overwhelm you in this situation? Look how calm everyone's. No one's running around. Yeah, they're having a plan right here. Just to go back to this situation, Jeff and I had this conversation. These cars are set up where if their throttle position is high enough and rig pressure is high enough, the car stops putting power in. It's like a pump throttle situation. There's no telling to know if that worked or didn't work in the ECU of this 11 car. It's just, until we talked to Denny, it'd be just a total guess of what he felt.
There's tons of work put in. Jack Roush put in tons of work years ago in developing a system that measured manifold pressure and throttle position and all that, and it would shut the engine off. And so that has been changed throughout the years to go to the ECU, whatever, however it works, and part of the safety evolution. But regardless of all that, Denny Hamlin to not end up going head on into the wall that's just a great job by him.
He had the speed. He's been overtaken since the accident on total time, Truex. And Corey LaJoie with a good practice lap speed as well. And then you have Denny's time that stood, but he's missing out on laps, valuable laps out on this Martinsville track. And then Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott. So you've got three playoff drivers, third, fourth, and fifth on practice speed at the moment. And 9 minutes left to make the most of it.
So here's what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's on older tires, and look what's happened behind him.
Look at this angry little bunch.
And this is what you were kind of hoping to see. You're kind of hoping to see that, yes, new tires do matter. Look at double wide racing side by side at Martinsville. This is practice.
It's beautiful. Make the most of it.
See Keselowski making a turn.
Busher.
I'm sorry, yeah, Busher.
They went and changed sponsors for you, Jeff.
Well, some Reeds love having them here.
Chase Briscoe is in this group. Noah Gregson, pardon me, is in this group. Kyle Larson is at the back of it as well. They're actually now in the middle of it. Ricky Stenhouse is there. Harrison Burton off the back of it.
So this is where Steve, this is where my eyes, if we do get these big fall off moments, this is where experience matters. Some of these young drivers haven't driven at this racetrack in this car with tires that change. And so what do I need my car to do? What can it do? Like, you have to make sure it has good grip. You have to make sure it turns the best. A guy like Martin Truex, a guy like Denny Hamlin, some of these experienced guys, I think that's an advantage.
Truex suffered a pretty rough blow last weekend. He had a fast car and it was running well, and they had a jack fail on one of the stops that sent him from in the top group back to 26 deflating. That was a tough one. So maybe, just maybe, Martin, the way that he has started this weekend, he might have a chance to get that elusive victory in his final full season as a Cup driver. We've seen some pretty famous wins here. Some biggest stars, Jeff Gordon going back and winning here. We saw Clint Boyer kind of get his final win here. Winning your final season or full-time season. It's important to these guys.
Such a difficult racetrack, Steve. That's where you want to win. Tracks that are difficult, that are a major challenge. Some drivers just don't like this racetrack. So small, so confined. Others love it.
It's been interesting on Chase Elliott. I don't know if they put their second set of shares on yet. 76 laps, it's hard to know. We'll be able to tell by overall speed here right away. Out Goldenwich, no. Alex Bowman is all over Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano is getting a good look as well. And Bowman said in the lead up to this weekend is that he's going to be cheering on his Hendrick Motorsports teammates to get it done. But there's three of them trying to make two spots, right? So he said he's going to be cheering, but he's going to be trying to win again as well, and he's going to be able to give some feedback on what the JGR Camry of Christopher Bell looks like from behind. You asked earlier about the corner. Now, I believe looking out the window, this is more rubber on the racetrack than we see in practice. A lot has to do with temperature. It's a reasonable warm day here in Martinsville, but it's really starting to trade color when you see cars kind of moving up in the middle of the track. They've been giving us updates on the 11, but let's switch teams, let's switch cars. Who are you focusing on now, Davo? The night of Chase Elliott, fifth fastest in single lap times, and fourth best in 10 lap times. Who's he been feeling behind the wheel?
That might end up being okay. Like later in the run, if I had perfect back all the time. But I think it might be tight for what is going to be realistic.
It's just that's so critical, isn't it? You've got to extrapolate. Am I going to be in traffic? Well, yes, it's Martinsville. Is that the feel I need for being in traffic? I can't count on a lot of clean air here, right?
That's exactly right. And that's the experience we spoke about. It's so important, Steve, for driver, crew chief to be on the same page, have the conversation before ever coming here about what it takes to win. And you and I both agree. We think it's the 2/3 mark of the corner. You've got to be able to get your car rotated just past the middle of the corner. It's got to turn. You got to be able to leave on the bottom.
We would go so far as we almost would have a script to run 500 laps here. If your car was good at lap 100, you already knew the change you needed to make because the track goes a certain direction. And if your car was good at lap 200 or 300 or 400, you knew which direction the track was going. We had built-in adjustments that, like every 150 laps, we just knew had to be done to stay up with the racetrack. Let's go for a quick ride here with Christopher Bell because it was quite slow coming off turn 4 on that last lap. Let's go for a ride and have a listen. 4 minutes left.
Sideways off the corner, leaving marks with a. It is out of control. He's had enough.
That was like dirt track style.
Love to see it. As I was before. First time he came to this racetrack with this car, we never saw a car move. Like they were so gripped up. Nobody, I mean, it was like watching slot cars. We're not watching that today. There's some ill handling race cars. There's some good handling race cars.
That's a little bit of a temper tantrum. I don't believe the car is anywhere near that loose all the way off the corner.
What about that?
I mean, that's a bad handling race car. But the one all the way up by the wall on turn 4 is totally unnecessary.
Well, he can see it over there.
I know. That's why I said it.
That's the key.
That's why I said it.
You got to show the team on the front straightaway.
Yeah. I agree with the loose at the 2/3 mark. Definitely didn't look great. But that one up by the wall, I'd be like, okay, just come on in here. Let's talk about this.
He said temper tantrums.
You know, drivers will do that, Diff. Crew chiefs will as well. I'll take the credit. I've thrown a few. Oh, there you go. That's good to hear. 2 minutes left. Chase Briscoe in the Mahindra Ford for Stuart Haas. Just 2 races left for this organisation. For this man, he makes a team change. He heads off to Joe Gibbs Racing to take over the 19. And Martin Truex Jr. calls time on his full-time Cup career. So a lot to look forward to, but still a lot to race for and finish this year and this period, this tenure. And Stuart Haas on a high.
I don't be surprised one bit if you see these Stuart Haas cars in front of the race this week. They seem like these kind of racetracks have really good speed. Completely different line that he's trying. Look at this.
I like it.
Never even gets to the bottom of the racetrack.
What if it works just because he's trying to get out of the rubber, all the way up to the lighter gray? You think that's his goal here, Jeff? I mean, it looks like he has a real specific location.
Yeah, I think that's what's changed as you rubber this racetrack up, I think you will start trying to search around and look. This is what he's doing.
Had a good run at Bristol just a few weeks ago. No longer a playoff driver, but gave us that magical moment at Darlington earlier this year. And that's what we're going to remember about the end of his time at Stuart Haas, that's for sure. Inside the final minute here, this has been a really valuable practice session. 45 minutes punctuated by that brief stop for Denny Hamlin's crash. But some really good laps turned. Carson Hocevar has turned triple digits. So has Ryan Blaney. So has Kyle Larson with 103 laps turned. 101 for Blaney, 100 even for Hocevar. That's a good session, boys.
Yeah, these 45 minutes just must feel like an eternity compared to a normal 20-minute practice session.
It is. Is this? We still got more laps?
What do you want me to do?
But you'll take it, right? You'll take it.
Yeah. I love practice. I love testing.
So that's a discussion. So Jeff and I talked about this. You know, it used to be practice is important for the team and the timer. And there's been this shift where the team definitely loves the practice. So much is now done in the computer and simulation. I actually think it's hurting the drivers for the ability to run 100 laps, place like Martinsville, because, you know, without a second set of tires, the team wouldn't have had you run 100 laps. There would have been no reason to. Yep. Now that I got everything so hot, let's go right and get ready to qualify. Now, I do agree that, you know, this is the one place you don't want to cool everything. Right? If there's any way we can keep a little temperature in those front rotors, like I wouldn't be putting fans on them. I would actually, I know this sounds crazy, but just try to keep as much temperature and everything as I can.
So here's the negative to all these practice laps. Everybody out there at once, and then immediately, essentially going out to qualify. What in the world is this racetrack going to do? I mean, it is completely rubbered up. How would you have any idea going to make a qualifying run what was getting ready to happen? Normally, you know, there's just not that many laps. They're not all on the racetrack at the same time. And that makes a massive difference in having when rubber being put in the racetrack. How many are out there at the same time?
When you come to Martinsville, Virginia, there is one driver that is always spoken about. That's the driver of the 11, the 5-time winner here, Denny Hamlin. He's standing by with Dave. Has walked out of his hauler now, was released from the infield care center under his own power. Walk us through the moments that led to that crash in practice, Denny.
You know, the moments that led up to it, our car was phenomenal. It was doing everything it needed to do. We had just made a change and then went back out to kind of assess the change, and thought it was kind of right where it needed to be.
And then, what happened as you're exiting turn 2 here?
I don't know. The car didn't slow down. The throttle hung on me. And apparently a picture, and there's a huge chunk of rubber that's in the throttle body that hung it wide open.
You went immediately into self-preservation mode. What's that like, keeping the nose out of the wall and just putting the back end in?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do everything I can to not, you know, hit head on. But at that point, I'm just trying everything I can to keep the thing spun around so then I can try to maybe get the car to slide forward instead of backwards. But obviously, this small track and whatnot, you just can't. It's hard to keep it off the wall here.
What kind of fast hands and feet did you have to do that? How'd you do that?
I mean, most of it is instinctual. It's not a lot of it is just kind of you're thinking the best way to wreck, but obviously, from my standpoint, just trying to make sure I didn't hit nose first, so did everything I could.
So just to go back a little bit, we're saying your team pores over this car, make sure everything is right. Everything was right, and Chris now says it was probably the rubber buildup that comes off the tires, which it's supposed to do to give you guys a better tire, that probably got into the throttle body.
Yeah, just we drew the unlucky straw, and it's a story for 20 years, and so it's so disappointing considering the preparation the team puts into bringing me a fast car, and I hate this for the team that's now got to work all hours of the night. It's unfair to them, but just unlucky.
Then you won here 5 times, 3 times in the playoff era. You won elimination races. Can you do it Sunday from the
car? Has got the ability to maneuver like this one did, then you got a chance. The unfortunate part is, we don't get to pick a pit stall. We're probably going to be right in the middle of a terrible spot on pit road. Track position is key here. The road is, got infinitely harder
but it's not impossible. 500 laps to try to get it done Sunday. Glad Denny's okay after all that, Lee.
So there was that longer interview there with Denny Hamlin breaking down exactly what happened, which transpired into a practice crash. He did end up third overall in practice, ran 33 laps. Martin Truex Jr. was the fastest driver overall in that 45-minute session, so he tops the speed charts at least one more time in his NASCAR Cup Series career. As you see on screen, these are the drivers that will qualify in Group A. Now, although we didn't have groups in practice, still the same group qualifying here today that we've seen all season long. Corey LaJoie will be the first driver to go out and make a lap. Then Justin Haley, John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, the first 5. After Dillon will be Ross Chastain, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Harrison Burton, Austin Cindric, the front 9. So those are the first 9 drivers to make a qualifying run. Now, these teams get up to 2 laps. Any track 1 mile and less than length in the NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Truck as well. But any track 1 mile or less in length, you can make 2 laps on your qualifying run. Obviously, with a bit of tire fall off with these option tires this weekend, it'll be interesting to see how many teams are actually going to try to run a second lap, especially if they feel that their first lap was quick enough to put them in the Fast 5. Top 5 from each group will obviously make it into round 2 and have a shot to go for the pole. Dale Opplinger, Bond 1771, Dark Crypto, Earl Arnold Jr. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And see some questions that we had there. Awkward people trying to ask great questions in that situation. Well, I mean, they're trying to do their job. I thought the funny one was, though, as he was like power walking to the victory lane area on the front stretch where Christian Eckes was, he was getting asked a bunch of questions from Amanda Busick. He was just stone cold, no words, just kept walking. That part of it was hilarious. HMS cars. Larson surprisingly was like outside the top 30 in practice. Blaney was right around him. I think they were 30th and 31st overall in the practice session. So I don't know if maybe their cars are set up more for the long run rather than the short run, and that's why you didn't see him towards the top of the leaderboard. It is interesting for Larson's sake, especially because he had a teammate, Chase Elliott, who was near the top of the speed charts. I believe he was 4th overall. And then William Byron, just outside the top 10, was 11th from what I saw. I didn't see where Bowman was in the mix of cars. But that's where some of the Hendrick cars were. So very scattered across the leaderboard. Here's Chris Gabehart now with Dave Burns in the garage area.
In the day, we can see another one. Why not here?
Well, there's this totally different era, you know, and truthfully, most of the clip looks fine, we think. We're going to go take a couple measurements here in just a minute. And then it would just be replacing some body panels and a bumper and getting back to it. There was a lot of good things about this car. Obviously, it fired off really fast and then was even better yet there. And unfortunately, just swallowed a big clump of rubber and got stuck in between the throttle stop and the throttle lever and hung the throttle. So, you know, it wasn't anything anybody did wrong. It's just more information first.
If you get the information that you can fix this car, can it be done here at the track, or does it have to go back to the shop?
We'd be better off to fix it here. Time-wise, you'd have over 4 hours in transporting it alone, let alone working on it. So right now, it's looking like we would fix it here, but I still need a little more information first.
Thank you, Chris. You guys talked about it. These guys have had such a tough playoff so far. Now they're going to have to dig even deeper to make it happen for themselves tomorrow.
So what I hear there is they're going to push it back through. If I was Chris, I would really check the location of the 2 rear tires, the rear roof and the rear glass, right? You know the quarter panels, the bumper, and you know you don't care about all that. All the sheet metal is very.
Bit of a buffer going on right now. Well, while that's buffering, I'll log out and try to log back in and get that running for you again. Qualifying is set to begin at 2:05 Eastern, by the way. So about 8 minutes from now, we'll see our first car on the racetrack for qualifying, which again will be Corey LaJoie. LaJoie was second fastest in practice. Right behind Truex. And that fast lap was ran on his second run. Truex and LaJoie, the only drivers who on their second set of tires are able to put up a lap time faster than Hamlin, who obviously when he put the fastest lap time up initially in practice was on the first set of tires. Each of these teams had 2 sets. And again, the full 45 minutes was because of the option tires for this weekend. Same tires that we saw as like the red tires back in the Richmond race, if you remember, from later in the summer. Doing pretty good today, Wade. Michael Belcher also welcome into the stream. Derek Booth, thanks for tuning in. Truck championship pick? Well, I would have said based off of how last night went, I was going to say Christian Eckes. But I think I'm going to go with Corey Heim again. And that is because after what happened last night between Gray and Eckes, I don't think Gray's going to let Eckes win the championship. That's kind of my bold prediction there.
Just a Joe Gibbs thing. And as Chris the crew says, the Denny Hamlin said, just a freak thing, not anything that anybody did wrong, just circumstantial.
Dale, I also will say, no idea what the lap averages look like for anybody, let alone for HMS. More information on that later on tonight when I gather all my pre-race data for tomorrow. So tune into the pre-race tomorrow, and I'll have all the lap averages ready to go for you. Per usual, with the pre-race prediction picks.
Were announced recently by the NASCAR Foundation as finalists for the 14th annual Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award.
We all know NASCAR fans are passionate about racing, also passionate about giving back to their community, our NASCAR community. Each year, the NASCAR Foundation celebrates 4 passionate NASCAR causes important to them. These fans are celebrated as finalists for the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award, created in honor of the NASCAR Foundation's founder, the late Betty Jane France. This year's 4 finalists are Tammy Rollerson, volunteer for the Periwinkle Foundation from College Station, Texas.
Being a parent is hard, but being a parent with a child with cancer or chronic illnesses, anything like that, is just that much harder. Being with Periwinkle, it's a support group that is just like no other.
Judy Simmons, volunteer for God's Picture from Paxton, Virginia.
I couldn't have kids. So kids are so special to me. If I can make one person smile today, I've done my job. And it makes my heart happy.
Willis Washington, volunteer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Petey area from Florence, South Carolina.
I love people. I love children. I do it to meet somebody's purpose.
And Julie Woolridge, co-founder of Hope in Mooresville from Mooresville, North Carolina.
I think some people feel very alone in the world when they don't have a place to live. And maybe they've wore out welcomes at different places, but they don't wear their welcome out here. We're happy they're here.
All 4 have done tremendous work, and we're proud to have them as finalists for the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award. And only one can take home a $100,000 donation from the NASCAR Foundation to further their efforts to help children. Your vote matters. Go to NASCARFoundation.org/award to vote today.
Thank you and congratulations to those finalists doing amazing work. And these amazing fans are enjoying a beautiful Virginia day in the mid-60s, and sunshine tells the story. It's just beautiful. Being really treated to some incredible fall weather, and the playoffs has enjoyed incredible weather as well. As we pause just for a moment for the reset in between a 45-minute practice session and before we go into qualifying mode. And somebody who had the fastest car in practice mode is standing by with Dave Burns.
A lot of fans would love to see Martin Truex drop the mic and walk off with a win before the year's over. He got 2 chances. How good was that car in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty fast. Auto Owners Camry's quick. Need to work on that long run a little bit more. You know, this place is so tricky, and it's all about that balance of, short run, long run. Right there, short run was really fast, and then I kind of paid the price after like 25 or 30. So got to work on it some more, but yeah, the guys brought a fast piece, and should be good for qualifying day, that's for sure.
How sharp was the fall off then at that 20 to 25 lap mark?
I mean, it was somewhat drastic, but I think for us it was more of a balance issue than just the tires completely going away. So we need to figure out how to get a little more long run without hurting the short run, and that's what makes this place so tough. And these cars especially, they're just so temperamental. So we've got some of the pieces in place to have a good day. Hopefully we can find a little bit more and have a good day tomorrow. Have some fun.
In this car for qualifying coming up and what you know about the tire now, having felt it here, what should we expect?
I feel pretty good about our car. I think we'll be in good shape. It's going to be, it should be a decent chunk quicker. It always gets faster when the rubber gets picked up. So, yeah, we'll see. Should be fun.
Denny did not have a good practice. I just explained to you what we understand was the issue there. And yeah, it's a head shaker. It's a head scratcher, right? What does that do for you then? Because everyone in the garage will know this. Your cars are all the same, basically. How do you even prepare for you now? You know that, right?
You race with both fingers crossed and hope and pray it doesn't happen to you. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just that's terrible luck and some crazy circumstances coming together to make it happen. So hopefully it doesn't happen to anyone else. Obviously hate it for those guys. I mean, when your whole season's on the line and you have to battle some things like that you can't control, it hurts worse than anything. So feeling for those guys and hopefully they can rebound.
All right, thank you. Have a good qualifying lap.
There was one word that Martin used several times with Dave Burns: fun. Let's go out and have some fun. I got 2 to go. 2 races left. Let's continue this. See if we can.
Top 10 in practice. Martin Truex Jr., as I mentioned already, and as you heard from him, fastest overall, ran 85 laps. His fastest lap was a 19.918 second lap time. Corey LaJoie second. Playoff drivers Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott third, fourth, and fifth. Rest of the top 10 non-playoff drivers: Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, Todd Gillen, Austin Dillon, and Daniel Suarez all ran anywhere in the ballpark between 33 to 94 laps for some of them. Obviously, the 33 was Denny Hamlin before his crash. Didn't get a chance to throw those second set of tires on. I don't believe that means he's going to have an extra set for the race tomorrow. For that 500-lap event, all the Cup Series teams were allotted 10 sets of tires. That should be plenty to make it to the end of that race, especially based on how hard it is to pass at this racetrack with this car. No matter the tire in general, this should help a little bit, but we'll have to still wait to see if that will be the case 100% at least once the race ends up starting tomorrow. Again, our coverage for that will begin at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we still have the NASCAR Xfinity Series race later today following this qualifying session that is about to begin. Any second now, we'll see Corey LaJoie out on the track. Our Xfinity coverage will begin at 4 p.m. Tomorrow, 250 for the Xfinity race later today. Another sprint. Like we saw last night with the truck race, that was only 200 laps, finished in just over an hour and a half. 30 likes on the stream. Our goal is to get to 50 during these practice and qualifying streams, so be sure to hit that like button if you have not done so yet, as we're a little bit past halfway. I'd imagine about top of the next hour, 3 p.m. will be the finish of this qualifying session. Should be rapid fire once we get it underway. NBC Sports app usually commercial free with their coverage. Still haven't seen LaJoie take the track. Oh, while we wait on Corey to get up on the track and begin qualifying, we'll take another ad break. You're listening live on KRC to the Xfinity 500 now qualifying session for the NASCAR Cup Series.
William Byron, how does one set himself up for qualifying at the paperclip?
Just commit. So just make sure you get your brakes, nice and get some good temperature in them, and just lay down a good couple laps. So my team did a great job coming here. Got an awesome car, and feel really good about race trim. Just a couple small little things to tweak on going into qualifying, and yeah, like I said, it's just we've done this our whole life. So just trying to go out there and lay 2 good laps down.
Your 10-lap averages weren't bad either. What do you think about it in race trim?
Yeah, we started with a mock run, so it was a little bit offset. Track had a lot of pace in it early, and then our second run on tires was really, really good. So just excited for the rest of the weekend, but gotta, like I said, go out here and
get temperature and everything, and have a good couple laps.
And what has your week been like with all the obligations you have? There's a lot to do this weekend to make next weekend really count.
For sure. Yeah, we've had a great week, so excited to be here, excited for this opportunity, and feel like this is what you want every year. So looking forward to Sunday.
All right, thanks, William.
That was William Byron there. Interview also with Dave Burns prior to his qualifying lap. Byron's actually in Group 2 of qualifying, so he's got a bit before he ends up hitting the track yet. The 4 playoff drivers in this group: Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell. Usually they try to split the playoff drivers in half with each group in practice and qualifying. Again, all of them on the track at the same time for practice this weekend, but qualifying, they are split, obviously. Keep the same procedure that we've been having all season on these ovals. So 2 laps per driver. 18 drivers trying to go for the top 5 spots. Then they'll get a chance to requalify for the pole in round number 2. Showing a little bit of the elapsed time of all the rubber laid down on the track from what was a green racetrack at the beginning of the practice session to what we have now before qualifying. A lot of defending winners at Martinsville in the playoffs of this round of 8. In fact, a lot of those drivers have won playoff races here at Martinsville. The likes of Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, the most recent, Christopher Bell, 2022 fall winner here, Chase Elliott in 2020, Logano in 2018. Those guys all in this group. Kyle Larson in 2021. Cars are getting pushed up onto the starting grid currently. On the NASCAR app, it was saying that it was going to be 2:05. They were going to begin qualifying. It is currently 2:10. And we have not seen the first car fire its engine yet. So maybe we're looking at closer to 2:15 then. A little bit behind. Although the Denny Hamlin caution, I think, might have been the slight delay because they did put time back on the clock for that caution period after his throttle had hung. While we're still waiting for qualifying to begin, here's a word with Ryan Blaney.
Well, pretty decent practice. Maybe not. I've been able to put up a super fast time like some of the guys, but probably once we got a handful of laps on them, I kind of evened out. And then after that, I felt pretty good. So I was fairly happy with the balance of our car. I felt like the track took a lot of rubber, so that was good. With the tire, it seemed like everyone kind of moved around, and the second lane was there, second and a half lane, and my car felt pretty good in all of them. So it'll just be a testament of like how well can you adjust through the race tomorrow. You know, the track's going to change throughout a run and all day, and how do you stay on top of it. But I appreciate the group that's got tire forward pretty fast right now, so hopefully we can lay down a decent lap and then go to work tomorrow.
Thanks. A lot of moving parts between driver, crew, car, track, everything Lee tomorrow, even weather. Great weather. But
So LaJoie is now on the racetrack. Currently scuffing his tires on the back straightaway, trying to get maybe a little bit of that rubber built-up off from the exit of pit road. Oh boy. Big wiggle going into turn 3 on his corner entry. This might hurt his first lap. I'd imagine LaJoie definitely going to be running 2 laps in qualifying just with that mistake alone. It's going to hurt his straightaway speed quite a bit. New tires obviously on the car for qualifying, not the same set that they ended up practicing with. But if you do advance into the second round of qualifying, you do have to use the same tires in both rounds. So there's the strategy side of things of whether you run 1 or 2 laps. For LaJoie's sake, definitely going to be running 2. 20.152 on lap 1 for him. Second lap should have a little bit of a pickup, I'd imagine, unless he has a mistake down on 3 and 4, which he does not. Second lap for LaJoie. Yeah, as I mentioned, a little quicker. 20.110. He held a more steady wheel all the way around the racetrack that time. And as he finishes up, Justin Haley is now on the track. Kind of odd that you have both the guys that were traded mid-season a handful of weeks ago now as the first two back-to-back on the starting grid for qualifying. Big corner speed dropping down to 64 miles an hour in turns 1 and 2 for Haley on his first lap from third gear to fourth. He'll downshift back to third into 3 and 4. And I would imagine that he'll upshift to fourth before the start-finish line. On the first lap, he will run a second. Top of the speed charts of a 20 flat for Haley on lap 1. Lap 2, not looking as quick through the first half of the lap. Needs a pickup in 3 and 4. Picked up quite a bit on corner entry. Got it to stick. Still got to the gas at a good point. So very good in turns 3 and 4 rather than 1 and 2 for Haley. But apparently the 20 flat was still the quickest of the two laps on lap 1, though. A little over a tenth quicker than LaJoy. First Toyota on track for qualifying, that being Jonathan Nemechek. The only other Toyota here in Group A is Christopher Bell, who will be the very last driver to qualify of this group of 18. Nemechek tracking in the green currently. Was until he entered turns 3 and 4. I mentioned Haley had a good corner through 3 and 4, and Nemechek not as much. 20.069 for him. 20.918 was Martin Truex Jr.'s fast lap in practice. I would imagine with a fresher set of tires that we should end up seeing faster laps in qualifying. I'd be shocked if we don't, to be completely honest. Especially now being a qualifying trim where a lot of those drivers in practice were more in a race trim situation. Next, Spire Motorsports Chevy on the track, Zane Smith. Carson Hocevar, the third of the Trackhouse cars, will be in Group B. So he had a pretty solid run at Homestead last week as well. At times was running up in the top 5. Zane Smith tied around the curbing as he needed to be through 1 and 2. 3 and 4 wiggled a little bit through the center of the corner. Not as much bite middle off. Slides the car quite a bit up off of the curb again in 1 and 2. Zane Smith just not having the grip needed to make a quality lap. He was 4th of 4 on his first lap. Second lap is looking to be even slower than the first. Yeah, really from turns 3 and 4 onward, from lap 1 and all the way through lap 2, Zane Smith didn't really run a clean set of corners. 20.226 was the fast lap, or sorry, that was the second lap. The fastest lap, 20.156. 700s quicker on lap 1 than lap 2 for Smith. Corey LaJoy, the only driver to run his fastest lap on lap 2 of these first 4 qualifiers. And now Austin Dillon in the number 3. Winner on a short track earlier this season at Richmond. So it'll be interesting to see what Austin Dillon can do here this weekend. Former truck race winner here at Martinsville. First lap is going to put him to the top of the speed charts. 19.770. That was a great lap. Faster than what anybody had ran in practice. And we'll see if that'll hold. I think that could be a lap time that's going to hold at least for the top 5. I think we will still see faster lap times overall, but lap 1 quicker than lap 2. Lap 2 is a 19.999, which also would have been the fastest, but still a little over 0.2 off of what his first lap was. You're so early in the round, though, you almost want to run 2 laps because you just don't know if that first lap is for sure going to be one to hold, even though that was a great lap by Dillon. And now it's Ross Chastain in the number 1. For Trackhouse Racing, a one-time winner this season as well. A win at Kansas Speedway 5 weeks ago. First lap puts him to second with a 19.825. Lap 2 for Ross Chastain. A lot slower. It looked like he shut it down well before he hit the start-finish line. Whether that was intentional or not, I'm not entirely sure. Big loose moment in the center of 1 and 2. Might have been on his second lap then. Because he definitely shut it down before he got to the line because he ended up a couple seconds slower than what Dillon had put up on his fast lap. So after a bailout by Chastain, he still sits second, again at 19.825 on lap 1. Still holds. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now on track. Also a win this season. In recent weeks, Talladega last month. Stenhouse fourth on lap 1. 20.010. Puts him in the top 5 for now. Doubt that will hold. Even though on lap number 2, it looks like he picked up a little bit. Moves to third, 19.926. Almost a full 10th off of Chastain for second. And a 10th and a half off of Austin Dillon for the top spot. And now we have Harrison Burton in the 21. I think you're going to see a lot more of a stacked field of drivers in Group 2 than what we have here in Group 1. So we may see a surprise or two out of this first group of cars, these first 18, that may be able to sneak up into the Fast 5 when it's all said and done. Harrison Burton put together a great lap. That might be faster than Austin Dillon, and it is. A 19.739. That's an awesome lap by Harrison Burton. I mentioned a possible surprise to make it into the final round. This could be one. Not going to be able to back that up on lap 2, but still another great lap on lap 2 as well. A 19.739 holds from the first lap. Great job. Thought Austin Dillon's time was going to be great. Harrison Burton's even greater. Another Ford. Of course, a Penske affiliate for the Wood Brothers 21. Now we have an actual Penske on track, the 2 of Austin Cindric. So we'll see where that will compare to that of the first Ford here in this group, or second Ford, I guess technically, Harrison Burton. Corey LaJoie was the first Ford, but he was the very first car to roll out. A lot of Chevys have already gone, and a lot more Fords still remain yet in Group A. Not as fast for Austin Cindric on lap 1, fourth with a 19.883. Bumps him into the top 5 for now, but again, probably not going to hold with where he's at time-wise compared to some of the faster times we've seen already. And with who we still have left. Slides the rear tires quite a bit through 3 and 4. Steady on exit. Middle of the corner, it looked to be lacking a little. And a little slower on lap 2 as well. So again, still a 19.883, the fastest of the 2 laps for Cindric. Next 9 drivers to qualify in this order will be Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, then Daniel Suarez. Final 5, Chase Briscoe, then the 4 playoff drivers in Group A of Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, and Christopher Bell. So 4 drivers who have won the last 6 races in the Martinsville Fall event will finish things off. Former Martinsville winner Brad Keselowski on track, jumps to third on lap 1. 19.803. Good lap, but I think you're definitely going to need to get into the 19.7s. And he's going to fall off tremendously on lap 2. So again, Corey LaJoie and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the only 2 drivers that actually picked up from lap 1 to lap 2, but neither of them are in the top 5 of these first 10 drivers to qualify. Big lockup of that left front tire entering turn 3 on that second lap for Keselowski, and that's why he was about 0.3 slower on lap 2. His teammate Chris Buescher is now on track. I would imagine Buescher going to be close to what Brad put down for lap 1. First lap not looking great for Chris. If he doesn't pick up in 3 and 4, he's not even going to be able to bump into the top 5. This could be a rough start to the day for Chris Buescher. If he doesn't pick up a lot here on the second lap, he's going to be starting deep in the field. 7th on lap 1. Jumped him up 1 spot. That's an extra row. 19.925. He was only 1,000th of a second quicker than Stenhouse to pick that jump up in that one position. But he did have a pickup. By the way, Harrison Burton's average lap speed for what is right now the top time, a 95.932. Ryan Preece on track. For Stuart Haas Racing. First SHR Ford to qualify here today. Briscoe, the only other SHR Ford in Group A to qualify. Preece in the green makes his way into the Fast 5 through his first lap. He's going to put down a second. Fastest time overall, by the way, for Preece, 19.706. Lap 2 not as quick. Oh, Ford Power at the top of the leaderboard, though, right now. Top 2 spots. 3 in the top 5. 19.706. That's over 0.2 quicker than the fastest lap we saw in practice last hour. Daniel Suarez in the 99 now on track, so we're back to the Chevrolets. At least one of them, and then we'll have 2 more Fords to go right after. So his teammate Ross Chastain is currently in 5th. That's the driver he's trying to bump. And he does just that. He lost a lot of ground getting off of turn 2, gained it back in 3 and 4. As we've seen quite a few drivers pick up in the 3 and 4 versus 1 and 2 in their qualifying laps. So Suarez barely bumps in with a 19.805. 0.02 of a second faster than his teammate teammate Chastain. Suarez obviously the one on track. It looks like he shut it down on lap 2. Very similar to Chastain. I could run that second lap to its fullest. And as he slows down the back straightaway to head to pit road, next car up is Chase Briscoe. So Ryan Preece has the top time. We'll see what his teammate Chase Briscoe will do. Briscoe's had some pretty solid runs at Martinsville already in his Young Cup career. Could be maybe one of those dark horse sleeper picks for tomorrow's race. Tracking in the green to at least advance through to the next round. As of right now, great lap by Briscoe. Also going to get into the 19.7. Fastest overall as well, and he shuts it down immediately. As soon as he heard P1, 19.701. 5/1000ths of a second faster than Ryan Preece. We're probably going to see a 19.6. Austin Dillon is still in 4th right now, but he's got all 4 playoff drivers still to qualify. Joey Logano will be the first of which. Though he is already locked into the next round. So maybe he won't have as much speed here this weekend as a result of that, putting their full focus on Phoenix. That, of course, was the case last weekend where he ran outside the top 20 all day. But he does bump into the top 5 for now with a 19.799 on lap 1. Keselowski now out of the top 5. Going to need a pickup, though, if that lap is going to be able to sustain his way into round 2. picked up in 1 and 2, lost a bit in 3 and 4, and ultimately just a little bit slower on lap 1. He did pick up, but he doesn't pick up in the positioning order. 19.795 for Joey Logano on lap 2. He picked up 4 1,000ths of a second. But again, in the positioning side of things, he's still 5th and on the bubble with Chase Elliott now on track. After Elliott will be Blaney and Bell to finish out Group A of qualifying. Elliott tracking in the green through 1 and 2. And as he continues to do so through 3 and 4, a 19.715 on lap 1 for Elliott. He bumps to 3rd, and that will lock him in. So he can shut it down. He's already in the next round. That should be the smart thing to do here. And yep, he does shut it down. Middle of the corner. So Briscoe, Priest, and Elliott are locked into round 2. Blaney, Bell still to qualify. Bubble drivers are Harrison Burton and Austin Dillon. I knew it was a great lap early by Dillon and Burton, but will they hold with 2 perennial championship contenders, the defending champ of not only this race but the series, Ryan Blaney, and then 2 years ago the winner at Martinsville, Christopher Bell. The only 2 fall next-gen winners here at Martinsville Speedway. Blaney is tracking in the green. Logano was just a couple hundredths off of where Dillon was, but Blaney did lose time in 3 and 4, and that may hurt his second lap as well. 9th on lap 1 for Blaney. He was 30th in practice, so this would be a massive pickup in qualifying if he could break into the top 5. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do so. At the very least, we'll see if he maybe gets a position or 2 gained, but he won't break into the top 5. 7th, he does gain 2 positions. Faster on lap 2 for Blaney. 19.796, a 1,000th of a second off of Joey Logano, his teammate's lap time. So, of course, the 2 Penske cars right on top of each other. All 3 of the Penske cars qualified in this group, none of which break into the Fast 5. So maybe set up for the longer run for tomorrow's race. Blaney, of course, in a must-win situation, more than likely entering tomorrow. This driver is not, but still wants that good starting spot so he can cap on stage points early. 130 lap stage 1. That's not a long time at Martinsville Speedway. That's why qualifying is important here. Pit stall selection as well. Christopher Bell's qualified on the pole a few times already this season, including 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, the most recent. Lap 1 for Bell was 8th. Did not break into the top 5. Lap 2, he is tracking in the red, entering 3. Needs a big pickup, and he's not going to get it. Might have picked up a little bit, but not enough. Gains 1 spot. And that will put him 8th on the leaderboard with a 19.801. So 19.7s did hold. Austin Dillon, Harrison Burton. Congratulations. Those are the 2 guys that will upset their way in. And really, Ryan Priest and Chase Briscoe as well. Top 2. Who would have thought SHR would have the top 2 spots on the leaderboard here in practice. Priest did qualify on the pole at Martinsville Speedway in the spring, I believe, last season. So we'll see if he can get 2 poles in his Cup career here at this racetrack by getting a second today. Your Fast 5 once again for Group A: Chase Briscoe, Ryan Priest, Chase Elliott, Harrison Burton, and Austin Dillon. Elliott, the only one of 4 playoff drivers in Group A to make it into the Fast 5. So we'll be seeing them again to have a shot to go for the pole in round 2. We'll reset, and your list of 19 drivers for Group B are as listed, excluding Denny Hamlin, who would have been set to roll off 18th of these 19. He crashed in practice. He will be in a backup car, so no qualifying for Hamlin. Or at least it looked like he was going to be in a backup car. Not 100% guaranteed that that is the case yet. 11 team is still going hard at work to try to get the back of the car fixed. Of course, he was 3rd fastest in practice overall. They really like the speed, the handling, and everything in that car, so they're going to do what they can to try to fix it. First 10 drivers to qualify for Group B will be Josh Bilicki, Kaz Grala, Daniel Hemrick, Shane Van Gisbergen back at the track this weekend, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, Todd Gillen, and Martin Truex Jr. Truex fastest in practice earlier. So those are the first 10 drivers again to qualify in Group B. Fast 5 again from Group A. The two SHR Fords, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece. Briscoe top of the speed charts, and Chase Elliott. And two more surprises, Harrison Burton and Austin Dillon. Breaking into that Fast 5 as mentioned already. Now, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in for this early session of qualifying. Our first of 2 live commentary streams today. Tune in, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. In a little bit, about an hour and a half from now, we'll have our full NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage today. We'll also have can't even talk right now. We'll also have full NASCAR Cup Series race action tomorrow on the channel. We'll kick things off with a pre-race at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, 1:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for that.
A winner has. Just remember that one.
I think the advantage for Hamlin, it's another. The advantage for Hamlin is what we talked about in practice is the tire. Without this introduction of a different tire with fall off speed, it would have been really, really difficult. Now there was some track position opportunities with the other tire that he could have taken advantage of. But with a good handling race car, you can make passes. You can make passes where 2 years ago with this car, it was much more difficult.
I'm going to be fascinated to see how the field races here. I was Jeff Ford's crew chief. It shocked me that I would mess up and pit us when we weren't supposed to, when we were getting behind.
And he would look left, and I swear drivers would look in their mirror and see that hood and be like, I'm going to give him a line, because he's going to get me anyway. And you wonder when they look back and see Hamlin if they're like, you know what? Yeah, you've had a rough weekend. Just go ahead. I'm not in this fight. So yeah, I mean, that's what's going to be interesting to see.
It's not happening because the mentality is completely different. The give and take mentality is gone. It used to be, hey man, if they catch you, give them a spot, and then you can take one from him later. Today, it'll give you a hit in the back of the car and take your position. It's just a different mentality. So I don't think anybody will give him grace.
Josh Bilicki posted a 20.296 time to chase it. That's what Kaz Grola's done and done well. He's overtaken him by 0.2 of a second in the meat bone Ford. Watch this.
Kiss the wall a little bit.
I ain't using all the racetrack.
There you go, just a little squish on the wall. Down the back stretch is Daniel Hemrick. Good qualifying last week in Homestead, Miami. Let's see what he can post here today.
Now, this entire group, I think, is going to have a racetrack. I think the track changed for the first group, but looking at it now, it's pretty well cleaned off.
Big lap for Hemrick. Yes, it is. Sub 20? You betcha. Wow, he's continuing this awesome qualifying performance last week straight into this week. 19.793. I mean, that's better than Joey Logano's time. That would have put him 6th in Group 1.
Steve's point, though, you wonder if the track's not going to get a little better. Although you kind of leveled it, I thought, in that first group.
Well done, Daniel Hemrick.
Daniel Hemrick not driving this car next year. It's hard to keep everybody motivated in that situation to be able to come out and qualify like they did last week and bring the speed this week. That's a sign everybody's still working together.
Up next, Shane Van Gisbergen. Oh, big lock up into one.
For the race for SVG, going to run the series full time next year.
Spent a little bit of time with him this morning. He's so excited about 2025. Being a full-time Cup driver. Jumps his way to P2, 19.895.
Be interested to see what he's able to do next year. Or he just hasn't had the pace in the Xfinity Series on anywhere but the road courses needed to win. And so we've seen guys that can win races in Xfinity and come over here and not be successful. So can he step it up to the level that's needed on racetracks other than road courses? No question on road courses. He's going to be able to be in contention to win, but going to have a major step to have the pace at other racetracks.
I like the transition though, just because I think the cars are so different.
You know, I like, hey man, let's run Xfinity. This is what the track looks like. Like, yeah, you can see these places. And now I'm not sure another year of Xfinity would help. I think it's time to just move to this car. Yeah, even though I completely agree with Jeff, and it's going to be a huge step up in competition. He's capable. It's just, can he make the adjustment? That's right. That's right. With a lack of track time. I remember about it. Most weeks you get 15 minutes. You know, it doesn't get 3 practices. Multi-time winner at Martinsville, Kyle Busch on track. First lap, good enough for second. 19.842. He made Austin Dillon made the fast 5 in the first group. Real busy hands. This car never really got in the racetrack where he's comfortable with it.
And that time of a 19.842 up against his teammates 19.770. So just slightly off Austin Dillon's time. We'll see how strong that is in the big picture for Kyle. Here's Eric Jones in the Family Dollar Toyota Camry.
Cheap on this car now. Ben Bayshore, who cheap on this car now. New pairing for a few weeks. Looking to make some changes going into the next year to try to make some improvements.
Well, I think if you're the organization, you made this shift over to Toyota. This runs second on that first lap. You can't see where they want to be. They obviously want to be better. They see where the other Toyotas run in the field, but it's just it's tough. They're going to process some of that information.
Woof, woof, woof.
Big catch from Eric Jones.
Yeah. I think that the most improved team next year will be this team. I just view them making a lot of changes. The relationship with Toyota, they'll have an off season to really gather, see just his hands full, really gather all that data and come out next year. I think this will be a very good race team next year. Jimmy Johnson's committed to making it work.
Ty Gibbs gave us some pretty entertaining moments during that 45-minute practice session, particularly at the end where the car was all over the shop. Let's see how dialed in the 54 Monstermobile is here in qualifying.
That corner.
Yeah, interesting line, but it worked. Really consistent, did it again. Just a spectacular lap. Watch this. To the top for Ty Gibbs. 19.705. That would have put him second in Group 1. In between Briscoe and Priest. You're going to let him keep running. I didn't know if they were going to call him off. It's so early in qualifying, probably too hard to call him off right now. And I think it's going to pay off with a better lap. Sure is. 19.655.
Wow.
2 excellent laps. That's the quickest qualifying time we've seen. I give it group. I give Ty credit. He drove in a certain groove, Jeffrey. He was committed to the front of that car working. If it doesn't turn down the hill from a half a groove up, it's going to really hurt. But the car did everything he wanted to do, and he drove 2 perfect laps. There's Noah Gregson. And they bid off and beyond forward for Stuart Haas. It's a Stuart Haas 1-2 in Group 1. So let's see if that trend can continue here in Group 2.
A little bit free right there on corner entry.
One little slide that gives up all that hard work. 5th so far for Gregson.
It's just not fair.
No.
What he needs.
Sometimes, Jeff, this sounds crazy, but that one little slide just that's it. It keeps the rear tires up, and they just, in the race, 3 laps later, they come in, you start going again. But in qualifying, you only have 1 more lap. Watch this.
Yeah, so now, Noah 5th fastest right now, but it's gonna be a long day because there's a lot of cars that are gonna run quicker than that.
Here's Tom Gilliland, Front Row Motorsports. Be a little positive juice. We'll see what he can do here on lap 1. He's in the green. That's the 5th lap comparison, and jumps his way to P2. Nice lap. That couldn't be a more different spine and approach than the track or the car we were comparing it to. Taught a very traditional Martinsville line right around the curbing.
19.779. Lap one got it done and puts the 38 up there in P2 for the time being.
You didn't mention it. I was wrong.
The final five, so see if his teammate Truex can. He was the quick man from practice, in a pretty good mood. Had a jovial chat with Dave Burns post-practice. So let's see if this momentum and speed continues for 19.
Pretty fast so far.
Oh, yeah. I think you're going to see why he was in such a good mood here in a second. He's going to be in a better one. Are you sure? 19.584.
Wow.
James, shut it off.
That's greatest words ever.
What a lap by Martin Truex Jr. Top of the charts with a 19.584. Ty Gibbs in second with a 19.674. Those are the two fastest laps in qualifying overall so far, and as well as practice included. Which I didn't think those times were going to hold up anyway. The fastest we saw there was also Martin Truex Jr. with a 19.918. But again, that was in a race trim mode. Todd Gillen is the fastest Ford in this group so far. Third, 19.779. 19.793 for Daniel Hemrick in fourth. Eric Jones currently on the bubble with a 19.831, being his fastest lap. All of their fastest laps are on lap one, except for Gibbs, who actually picked up to run that 19.6. He had a 19.7, nearly 19.7 flat, picked up about 0.03 of a second from lap one to lap two. And he's the only driver in this entire group that's actually ran a faster lap on their second versus lap one. Michael McDowell bumps into the top five, passing the 43 of Eric Jones. 19.809 for Michael McDowell on lap two. So his second lap quicker as well. Following McDowell, you got Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick still to qualify. Again, Hamlin you're going to see on our list, but he will be starting last tomorrow with a wrecked race car in practice. Still trying to save the primary for all they can. If he does race the primary, he's still not going to be able to qualify. So he'll lose his pit stall selection, obviously. Probably be pitted somewhere in a bad spot right in the middle of pit road, if I had to imagine. And obviously starting at the tail end of the field also. Stage splits for tomorrow's Cup race, 130 laps in stages 1 and 2, 240 to the end in the final stage. DLS, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, Gillen did have a great qualifying run. Definitely one of his better of the season. Josh Berry bumps in third fastest with a 19.776 on his first lap. Second lap, 19.821. That bumps out Michael McDowell. Bubba Wallace also did not bump in. He ran a 19.830 as his fastest lap. So currently 7th for Bubba out of 13. Up next is Carson Hocevar. I tried backing out of qualifying and then trying to get back in again, and it keeps throwing me ad after ad after ad. There we go. There's Hocevar on track. And Carson Hocevar is not going to be anywhere near the top of the leaderboard. Carson's had some good qualifying runs throughout the season, but not here this weekend, it appears. 11th on lap 1, 19.866. He'll run a second lap just to try to pick up on that and give himself a better starting spot than what he would end up having based off of that first lap time. Works himself back to the line. And he does not pick up on lap 2, unfortunately. So still that 19.866 on lap 1 was his quickest. Got up against the wall off turn 4 at the end of lap 1. That really hurt him. Hurt the start of the second lap. It's the worst spot to make a mistake is in 3 and 4 on lap 1. Because at least if you make a mistake in 1 and 2 on lap 1, you can regather the momentum in 3 and 4 and have a chance to get back in rhythm for the second lap. You make a mistake, especially off the exit of turn 4, it just hurts your straightaway speed for lap 2 on the front stretch as well. Bowman slides the rear tires quite a bit off turn 4. He gets up to 3rd on lap 1. Lap time of a 19.735 for Bowman. So I believe Martin Truex Jr. and Ty Gibbs are locked in. Bowman's second lap was slower than his first. He sits in 3rd. So Bowman, Berry, Gilliland are the 3 drivers currently on the bubble, with Larson, Byron, and Reddick left to qualify. Reddick didn't show a lot of speed in practice and his 2311 teammate outside the top 5. So I'd expect Larson and Byron to be maybe contenders to try to break into the top 5. I don't think Reddick will. So I think Bowman will be okay. That's my prediction. Larson tracking in the green for right now. That was on corner entry through turn 1. Statistically, this isn't one of his better racetracks until this next-gen era, but Larson's had a couple of good runs here. Spring winner at Martinsville with this next-gen car. 4th on lap 1, by the way, for Larson. He had a big pickup in 3 and 4. He's not locked in, though. So that's why he's running a second lap. And lap 2 was not as quick. So that puts Berry and Larson on the bubble now, a 19.747 on that first and fast lap for Larson. And his teammate William Byron now on track. So he rolls into 3 and 4. Time to beat to break into the top 5 for now. A 19.776 is what Byron has to beat. We'll see on this first lap how good it's going to be, because it's looking very good to get into the top 5, and that will lock him in second. Even faster than Ty Gibbs, he can shut it down. And William Byron has advanced into round 2 of qualifying. That time was a 19.633 for William Byron, over a 10th quicker than at the time 5th Josh Berry. So now Kyle Larson's 19.747 is the one on the bubble. And Tyler Reddick is the last driver to qualify here in Group B. Now again, my prediction was Reddick was not going to break into the top 5. Statistically, not a great track for him. His teammate also qualified outside the top 5, and the practice speed wasn't there for Reddick either for the short run. He was tracking in the green initially through 1 and 2. He's going to need a pickup in 3 and 4 to beat Larson. Needs about 3 to 4 hundredths of a second of a pickup. Big wiggle by Reddick in the center of the corner, and that's going to kill his lap. Over half a second off. He's going to try to run a second lap, but I don't think that's going to be anywhere close to where he needs to be to make it into the Fast 5 either. So as predicted, Larson will remain in. Reddick runs a much cleaner lap 2. He was 18th initially after that first lap because of how major that mistake was. That first lap was a 20.304. But as he ran lap 2, He only picked up a couple positions, a 19.902 on the second lap, 16th. So Reddick starting deep in the field tomorrow as well, but again, he did win at Homestead last weekend, so the good news is he's already in the championship 4. And he could sleep easy here tonight. So your Fast 5 from Group B will be Martin Truex Jr., William Byron, Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, and Kyle Larson. All 4 Hendrick cars will qualify inside the top 10, as Chase Elliott was 3rd in Group A. A lot more of the heavy hitters in this Group B compared to Group A. And here is Chase Elliott with Dave Burns on pit road.
One lap for round 2.
Man, it's not a bad one for sure. I would be disappointed if we had 2, if it were me going into the next round for sure. So I would have to imagine it's going to help. But I've seen crazier things, I've seen crazier things doing this. So we'll see. But yeah, it was a good lap for our Napa Chevy. Nice to be able to do it in one here and lay a good one down.
So you asked Alan and the crew for a little bit more than just the usual Group 2, round 2 adjustment?
Yeah, I just felt like we could make it better, So, not that it was terrible, but I do think we could make it better, and I think I could hit my lap better too. So we'll, try to hit it all as perfect as we can and get a good start spot for tomorrow. So we'll see.
In the top 10 for sure. Let's look forward to the race. You're one of the 4 that it starts below the line there. So what was practice like, and what's your vibe been for yourself here so far this weekend?
Oh yeah, the vibe's been great. We, I feel like just our team as a whole has been in a really good spot. The last couple weeks we've gone to great timing. We've gone to a couple racetracks that, truthfully have been a big struggle for us, and to have the type of pace we had the last couple weeks, I just felt that we've been doing a really good job. And I'm proud of that. So we just got to put it all together tomorrow, and that starts right here, right now.
Thanks, Chase. Steve, how about that? You want to be able to fix the places that have bugged you, right? And it sounds like, from Chase's words, they've been able to do that with this 9 team.
Just keep making your program, keep making it right.
All right, so you can see the 10 drivers on the list of cars that will qualify here in round 2 and have a shot to go for the pole. That's not the order in which they will qualify as usual. It'll be descending order 5th through 1st, starting with the Group A drivers, and then 5th through 1st in Group B will go after that. So Martin Truex Jr. will be the last driver to qualify here today. We saw, obviously, the last couple of weeks, Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick were fastest in their practice session, then qualified on the pole at Vegas and at Homestead in the Toyota camp. We'll see if Martin Truex Jr. could do that again here today at Martinsville. Fastest in practice, won his first group of qualifying, now trying to put another fast lap together to get the pole. Showing a little bit of damage on the right front fender of the 51 of Corey LaJoie. Not sure exactly where that took place. Probably in practice at some point. So your qualifying order then for round 2 will be Austin Dillon to go first, then Harrison Burton, Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, and Chase Briscoe. After that will be Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, and Martin Truex Jr. Only 3 playoff drivers of the round of 8 will qualify inside the top 10 for tomorrow's race. I asked you guys right before qualifying started in the current chat poll, who do you think will qualify on the poll for the Xfinity 500? 87 votes, 51% unanimously saying somebody other than Elliott, Truex, or Byron will get the pole. Those are my 3 favorites based off of what I saw in practice, who I think could go for the pole. All 3 of which are in the top 10 will have a shot to go for it in round 2. But you guys are saying somebody other than those 3 will get it. Truex was the fastest overall in practice. Fastest, probably the favorite to go for the pole here, but Elliott was 3rd in his group. Byron 2nd overall time in qualifying as well. So we'll end that. Be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. Our goal is to get to 50 likes. We are at 50 right now with 1 round left to qualify, but be sure to hit the like button. We can get well over 100. We have well more than that many people concurrently watching, so definitely hit the like button. It helps these streams out a ton. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We have live race commentary streams like this every NASCAR race weekend for Truck Hunt as well. Obviously, just 1 more week left this season, but that is something to look out for. We'll take our final ad break of the stream and then get into this final round of qualifying. You're listening live on KRC. Don't usually do diecast showings for practice and qualifying, but I figured, hey, we're towards the end of the season. Let's do it. Last year, Ryan Blaney won this race, went on to win the championship, so I figured I'd show my guy some respect here this weekend and good fortune, hopefully, by showing a diecast off during this qualifying stream. So Ryan Blaney, this is a 2019 diecast, 124 scale, as I usually show you guys for the most part. And this is his PPG scheme from that season. A Gen 6 car there, Ford Mustang. The 550 package, you can see the giant ass rear spoiler, as Dale Jr. would say. Again, that is the diecast showing for this stream. I remember a lot of people liking this scheme at that time too. I thought it was good. It isn't my personal favorite from that season. I liked his Advanced Auto Parts car a little bit better. But yeah, the PPG cars always look nice. Haven't seen this kind of paint scheme on the next gens as much out of Blaney. We've seen him on Cindric's car at times, sponsoring the two throughout the season, various races. We'll have our Stage 2 diecast showing, of course, during the Xfinity Series race later today, and another one during the Cup race tomorrow as well. So again, Austin Dillon will be the first driver to qualify. And we'll listen into a little bit of that broadcast as we get into this final round.
To be the best in the business, push across the board. It's fantastic.
We knew that this track is one of ours to come get.
Keselowski down low.
Trophy there, so I'm proud of him.
That could have been a highlight reel for 5 years, 10 years. It's been one season of finishes like that. Just amazing, so enjoyable, and we are not done yet, Dave Burns.
Alex Bowman hopes the finish of round 2 sees him on pole. Is that possible?
Probably beat the rear tires that a little more than we needed to in round 1. A little greedy with my entries and had to make up for it on exit. So we'll see how much that comes back to us. But all in all, not a bad qualifying effort for our 48 Camaro. And yeah, hopefully we can end up pretty decent here.
Good luck. If you look at the charts, the Hendrick Motorsports organization has done a good job with their homework for qualifying this weekend at Martinsville.
Alex climbs back aboard the 48. And of course, last time here, that historic, that very memorable Hendrick Motorsport 1, 2, 3, the 40th anniversary of the organization. So while we get ready for the second phase of qualifying, let's remind you that there is racing today. The Xfinity Series has its final race in the round of 8 to determine who will fight for a championship next weekend. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern on the CW. Prior to that, it's NASCAR Countdown Live. And then tomorrow, we look forward to seeing you on NBC Network Television, Countdown to Green at 1:30. We'll go racing with the Xfinity 500. It's the final race. It's the cutoff race to shape the championship for Phoenix next weekend. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern, again on NBC.
Two great races this weekend. That Xfinity race has been wild. Let's call it wild. It has been exceptionally physical the last couple of years. We have 4 drivers in that race that pretty much have to win to advance to Phoenix with a chance to win the championship. And we have seen a lot of issues in that race. We're interested to see what happens later today.
What an afternoon we've got here. It's just beautiful. Just perfect to be at the track. Great for the fans.
pretty comfortable for the crews and the cars as well. Just a gorgeous Saturday here in Martinsville, and we're about to set the grid for the Cup race tomorrow for the Xfinity 500. Austin Dillon had the 5th best time for a Group 1, and we'll see the cars roll here shortly.
Did you pick the music?
I did not.
I was thinking.
I'll do some DJing next week at our rap party.
I was wondering who was doing the DJing at the track too.
I've heard some things. Hey, there's your old boss. One of your old bosses. Richard Childress is going to watch his grandson roll here shortly. There is the 3, the Bass Pro Shops Chevy. All right, we hear some sweet V8 sound. Let's go. Things are going to happen fast, and we'll know who's going to be in a prioritised position tomorrow here in Martinsville. This is the sole RCR car in this second phase of qualifying.
Tell you what, that car, I'll lose some over exit, but came to the start finish line, looked like with a ton of grip.
All right, let's get our first look at some time from Austin Dillon. Sub 20, that's a good start, 19.950.
That's awful what he was able to run.
His first ride.
That's a cleaner, more tidy looking lap.
Yeah.
It's faster.
Smoother for sure, and it is faster. 19.856. Good comeback there from Austin Dillon. So sets the time for everybody else to chase. Harrison Burton rolls out in the Wood Brothers Ford. Jeff, it seems so simplistic as Harrison is on the clock now, but how difficult is this to execute on a half-mile track like this? You just got to come out and go. And you're asked to be perfect in such a short span of time.
I'm saying this is one of the most difficult racetracks to qualify on because you do have to be precise, but you have to do it while you're hustling the car. Harrison's a little bit quicker than Austin.
19.807, good first lap.
I got tight that second lap. You could see the front tires. You could see them turn. Maybe trying to get a little bit more speed with entry.
Hustles it into 3, off 4. Harrison Burton's qualifying here at Martinsville is done. And that first lap time is the one that's going to carry him through. So he's setting the pace now.
Talked about Daniel Hemrick and his team after announcing he's not going to be there. That team continued to perform. Same for this 21 team. It's those guys that quit. They've actually had their best runs and most consistent speed since that announcement.
Alan Gustafson, the crew chief of this number 9 Napa Chevy, told me this morning, I'm so thrilled with this team, especially the last couple of weeks. And then Chase echoed the same sentiments to Dave Burns. So they're feeling good. They've got their mojo. They've got some momentum at the moment. There's Alan. So don't be surprised to see a positive result from this driver, this team, not only here today, but also tomorrow as Elliott goes to the top.
They could on that first lap. Used every good racetrack. I don't think there's going to be more speed this second one. He maximized it. Yeah, he did. That was a great job of driving that first lap. He got everything that there was out of that race car.
19.758 seconds is good enough to be the pace setter. And when the confidence is high and this team is performing, watch out for the 2020 Cup Series champion. He wants a shot at being a 2-time champ as Ryan Preece fires into action.
So far, everything's following plan, right? So they go out slowest to fastest in the first group. See if Preece can miss the corner a little bit in the middle. I think there's some speed left in his car, though. I think he can clean this up and have a good lap.
Goes to green. He's dancing on that line. It's close. It sure is close. To the pace setter. Preece, third, 19.831.
Can the second lap be better? See. I like he just overdrove just a little bit that first lap.
Nope, it's not there. It's not going to be there on this second lap, is it? It's gone about a tenth of a second away, so it stays as is. Chase Elliott, Harrison Burton, Ryan Preece, and Austin Dillon.
It's so difficult. You're walking on a tightrope, right? And if you lean just a little bit one way, you fall off of it. And I thought Chase Elliott just maximized his lap. It felt like Ryan tried to get a little bit too much.
Now, is there something from the Preece run that the team will communicate to Chase Briscoe, who's on track now?
I don't think it's enough time, right? Really, I think it's the communication would have been more of a change to the air pressure rather than a driver change.
Wow. Chase Briscoe hustling this Mahindra Ford off turn 2. It was green. It's just dipped into the red. It's come back now, talking about hundredths and thousandths of a second. First lap, second, 19.767.
Close.
It just underscores how good that first lap was from Chase Elliott.
Yes. And for all the playoff guys, if he can pull this off, advantage Chase Elliott.
Finishing it off, Briscoe.
So far, so good for Chase Elliott. Top spot. He's locked into a front row starting spot for tomorrow's race. Just 9/1000th of a second slower was that of Chase Briscoe, who is locked into a row 2, fourth place starting position. The Group A drivers who do not get the top time in their group are designated to the outside row, and for Group B, positions 2 through 5 will be on the inside row. Top spot will get the front row, and if it's obviously better than Elliott's, they will get the pole. So 19.758 is the lap time to beat to try to go for the pole as of right now for what is Chase Elliott. Final 5 drivers in the order to qualify will be Kyle Larson, then Martin Truex Jr., William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Ty Gibbs. And we'll see them here in a matter of moments.
He's in a full must-win situation. It happened quickly. Give credit to Reddick. He made it happen.
How uncanny that the last 2 guys to be locked into the round of 8 are the first 2 to win. Remember? when we were at the Roval and Joey had that nail-biting thing, and then just we'll never forget his post-race interview, how disappointed and dejected. And basically, by the time we're all having dinner on Sunday night after the Roval, it was announced that Alex Bowman was disqualified. Joey gets through. He makes it through and is the first to win. Reddick was scrambling and fighting as hard as he could at the Roval that day, and then he's the second to win and lock himself into the championship 4. The last 2 in are the first 2 to confirm their spots in Phoenix.
And what's so interesting, we've seen playoff to that point, playoff drivers step up in the playoffs. But as we said, Chase Elliott, the only guy in the first group in the playoffs to make the final 5. And a lot of teams, Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Preece, Austin Dillon, those guys have nothing to lose. They have great track position to start this race. They're only here to do one thing, and that's go win. And they have the track position that we talked about how important it is.
All right, Kyle Larson going to fire off a pit road, scuffing his tires real quick as he exits the pit lane. Straight line on the back straightaway as he enters for turn 3 and 4. Looking for this good warm-up lap to get a solid start to lap 1. Sure, he'll be running 2 laps regardless. Hit the first time as fast enough to get to the pole or not, with still having 4 drivers left to go after him. Larson tracking in the green through the first half of the lap as he enters turns 3 and 4. It's also looking good, but he lost a lot off of turn 4, and that might hurt his momentum for lap 2. 19.809 on lap 1 for Larson. He was in the green all the way up until the exit of turn 4, and you can tell that definitely hurt him for lap 2 because he was more than a tenth of a second in the red on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen on that lap indicator, tracking his time compared to the top time of Elliott. That likely is not going to hold up for a front row start, but we'll have to wait and see. And up next will be his teammate Alex Bowman. Bowman on track. Gets to the start-finish line. As he exits turn 2, he is tracking in the green on his teammate, just as Larson was. Larson lost it in 3 and 4. We'll see what Bowman can do down here. Exits the corner. Good time, Alex Bowman, P1. Bowman the Showman, 19.744 on lap 1. He is currently on his second lap, trying to best that and put added pressure on the next 3 to try to go for the pole. Great lap by Alex Bowman as he still looks for his first pole of 2024. Former Martinsville winner, 2021 fall race. My only trip to Martinsville Speedway. Him and Hamlin dueling it out there down the stretch. Contact sending Denny Hamlin up into the wall. Bowman held on to the restart, then tempers afterwards. Ty Gibbs in the 54 now on track as he tries to take down Bowman for the top spot. Tracking in the green through turns 1 and 2, at least on entry. Exit, not the case. Lost a lot. Has a chance to pick back up into 3 and 4. He's only a couple hundredths of a second off for now. Definitely driving it in a little too deep on entry. That seemed to have cost him for a lot. Oh, he snuck through. He actually did get it. 1/1000th of a second. Ty Gibbs. Best Alex Bowman. I thought when it started tracking in the red in the middle of the corner, he was never going to get it back into the green by corner exit, but he did. Unbelievable. A 19.743 for Gibbs, a 19.744 for Bowman. 1/1000th of a second, the difference right now between those top 2 spots. Will it hold with still William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. left to qualify? Byron up next. Remember, Byron and Gibbs both had 19.6s in round 1, a 19.5 for Martin Truex Jr. in his first round qualifying time. Byron tracking in the green through 1 and 2. And into 3 and 4, loses it on entry. Going to try to pick it up on exit, and does. What a lap by William Byron. He goes to the top now. 19.735, and that was only 8/1000ths of a second quicker than Ty Gibbs. 9/1000ths of a second separating first through third. At least in the Group B driver's side of things. And Martin Truex Jr. now trying to go for the clean sweep. Fastest in practice. Fastest in round 1 of qualifying. Trying to get the fastest in round 2 to go for the pole. In the second to last race of his full-time NASCAR Cup Series career, he will be running the Daytona 500 to start next season. But after that, we don't know if we'll see Martin Truex Jr. back at the track again for a NASCAR Cup Series race event. Could be his last shot to go for the pole. You never know. Tracked in the green down the back straightaway, entering turns 3 and 4. Needs to pick up on Byron by corner exit. He got it. Martin Truex Jr. to the pole. They just kept getting faster and faster and faster through the Group B slate of drivers. Only dropping off about 1/10 of a second from round 1. Martin Truex Jr. on the pole, 19.686.
He was on the pole here a year ago. And there's Coach Gibbs. While part of the team is worried about the 11 and the repair job for Denny Hamlin, it's Martin Truex on the pole. Old guys rule.
Old guys rule. You'll get to listen to Truex here in a couple seconds. Once he gets out of his car. Standing ovation.
Here's a quick programming reminder. This is what's coming up today and tomorrow. As after a tough season, there is a moment of celebration and jubilation for the 19 crew at Joe Gibbs Racing. Well, he told Dave Burns earlier, we just want to have some fun. Let's go there and have some fun. And it's always easy to have fun when you've got a fast car. And Dave, that's exactly what Martin Truex has got.
Yes, he does have a very fast car. Is that the fun you were referring to earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. I felt great about our car on stickers, and you never want to get too optimistic, but it fired off really good in practice, especially that second run with the track rubbered in. And I was like, all right, if we could just hit the balance here for qualifying, it should be really fast. So, and we've haven't had a whole lot good going for us lately. This feels awesome, and anytime you're first at anything in this series, it's special and it's exciting. And just thanks to auto owners and Bass Pro and everybody that supports us. And we got some work to do for tomorrow, but hopefully we can make a gain on it and have a good day.
Let me tell you, when we say the crowd went wild, they really did. I don't know if you heard them, but have you felt the love lately in the fan just wanting you to get it one more time, whether it's a pole or a win?
Yeah, for sure. They've been great. Everybody's been great, really, and yeah, it means a lot. And yeah, 2 more chances to win. So we want it bad. We're working hard. We're not giving up. Yeah, hopefully we can get one for everyone.
Ryan Truex Jr. matches his 3 wins here with his 3rd pole at Martinsville.
Congrats to Martin.
We'll go through the starting lineup for tomorrow's race here in a couple seconds. Again, Martin Truex Jr., best time in qualifying, and will be starting on the pole for tomorrow's race. Chase Elliott, also a front row starting spot, as he was the fastest driver in round 2 of Group A, excuse me. So he too is on the front row. Well, I guess we're not going to get the starting lineup on screen. Coverage is concluded on the NBC Sports app, but they didn't go through the starting lineup at the time, so I guess I'm not going to be able to show you guys that. That's unfortunate. Not sure why they went off the air so quickly. Let me try to refresh the page and see if there's anything on NASCAR.com yet. I think it's a little too soon. I don't think they're going to have everything. Yeah, because the top 10 aren't in the right order right now. Let me go onto my NASCAR app real quick before I end the stream just to see if they have the starting lineup updated there. Looks like they do. Yep, okay. So your starting lineup for tomorrow's Xfinity 500 for the NASCAR Cup Series. You got Martin Truex Jr., as I mentioned already, on the pole. Chase Elliott will start on the front row in second. Row 2 will be William Byron and Chase Briscoe. Ty Gibbs, Harrison Burton in row 3. Alex Bowman, Ryan Preece, row 4. Rounding out the top 10 in row 5, Kyle Larson and Austin Dillon. In row number 6, the drivers who just missed out on the final round of qualifying today, Josh Berry and Joey Logano. Row 7, a couple more Fords, Todd Gillen and Ryan Blaney. Daniel Hemrick, Christopher. And in row number 10, Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez. In row number 11, Eric Jones, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, row 12. Noah Gragson, Chris Buescher in row 13. Row 14 for Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Shane Van Gisbergen and Justin Haley, row 15. Row 16, Tyler Reddick, John Hunter Nemechek, Kaz Growler, Corey LaJoie, row 17. Row 18, Josh Bilicki and Zane Smith. Denny Hamlin, the only driver who did not qualify today, will start last in 37th after crashing in practice. Still no 100% confirmation on whether that will be his primary car or a backup car he will be starting in tomorrow. But that is the update on that as of right now. So obviously their team is probably going to be working on that all night, so we won't really know until probably tomorrow morning as to whether he will start the backup or the primary. As for the Xfinity Series race coming up in a little bit, Parker Retzlaff and Anthony Alfredo on the front row for that one. Retzlaff getting his second career pole. He got his first career pole at Richmond, I believe, back in the spring earlier this season. So a couple of good qualifying efforts on the short tracks. We'll see if his race effort can be pretty good a little later on as well. Thank you all for watching this live commentary coverage of practice and qualifying for the Cup Series over the last couple of hours. Our live commentary coverage for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race will be starting at the top of the hour, 4 p.m. Eastern Time in a little less than 40 minutes from now, so short break. We'll be streaming again. And again, our Cup Series coverage will be tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, full flag-to-flag coverage right here on KRC, beginning with our pre-race show, of course, and the prediction side of things. So Truex got the pole. Only 16% in the chat poll earlier voted for Truex to get the pole. So for you 16% that did vote for him, congratulations as well. We'll see who will win the Xfinity race again coming up later today, round of 8 finale Again, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow afternoon. On an extra hour of sleep, of course, as well, because it's Daylight Savings weekend. Appreciate it, everybody. See you soon for Stream 2 on this Saturday afternoon.